It was an ordinary day in a bustling city when a routine traffic stop took a shocking turn. A police officer approaches a vehicle only to find a black pregnant woman in a wheelchair struggling to explain herself. Tensions rise as questions are asked and accusations fly. The woman's calm demeanor begins to crack under the weight of the situation, but there's more to this story than meets the eye. Unbeknownst to the officer, the woman's husband, quietly watching nearby, holds a badge of his own, one with immense power. He's an FBI agent, and what happens next will test not only the limits of justice, but also the strength of love and courage in the face of adversity. What starts as a tense encounter spirals into a lesson about assumptions, humanity, and the hidden stories we all carry. Stay tuned, because this is a story you won't want to miss. The officer, firm in his stance, demands identification. The woman, her hands trembling, struggles to reach into her bag as she explains she's on her way to a doctor's appointment. Her voice wavers, a mix of exhaustion and frustration, but she keeps her composure. Passers-by begin to glance over, their curiosity piqued. Meanwhile, her husband watches from a short distance, his instincts as an FBI agent telling him to stay calm but alert. He knows the risks of stepping in too soon. This wasn't supposed to happen today. They had planned everything carefully, her route, her timing, her comfort. But none of that seems to matter now. The officer's suspicion grows, and he radios for backup, unaware that the man observing is piecing together the situation in silence. What will it take for the truth to come out? And will it happen before things spiral out of control? As the officer waits for backup, he presses the woman with more questions, his tone firm but laced with frustration. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. "Officer, I'm just trying to get to my appointment." "My husband will explain everything if you'll let me call him," she pleads, her eyes darting toward the man standing nearby. The officer notices her glance and turns his attention to the man, his stance shifting. "Sir, is this your wife?" he asks, his tone sharp and probing. The husband nods calmly but doesn't offer much else, calculating his next move. Revealing his identity too soon could complicate things, but staying quiet could escalate the situation. The tension thickens as more people gather, murmuring among themselves. Each moment feels heavier than the last. The woman grips the armrest of her wheelchair, silently praying for this ordeal to end, unaware of just how explosive the truth will be. The sound of sirens grows louder as the officer's backup arrives, adding to the tension. The woman's husband finally steps forward, his calm demeanor betraying the storm brewing inside him. "Officer," he says, his voice measured, "I think we can resolve this without further trouble." But the officer, now surrounded by colleagues, brushes him off. "Sir, step back. We'll handle this." The husband hesitates, weighing his next move. He glances at his wife, whose face shows a mix of fear and frustration. She knows what's at stake, more than just their immediate safety. The crowd watches in hushed anticipation as the officer begins to escalate, calling for further checks. The woman tries again, her voice firmer this time. "You're making a mistake. If you'd just listen." Before she can finish, her husband reaches into his pocket, slowly and deliberately, pulling out his credentials. The officers freeze, their expressions shifting. The truth is about to shatter everything. The badge glints in the sunlight as the man calmly states, "I'm Special Agent Carter with the FBI." A ripple of surprise spreads through the officers. The one who initiated the stop falters, his confidence shaken, but he quickly recovers. "That doesn't change the fact that this stop is by the book," he retorts, though his voice wavers slightly. Agent Carter steps closer, his tone now commanding. "This isn't just a traffic stop. My wife is a federal witness in an ongoing investigation." Your actions here are not only unwarranted, but could jeopardize her safety. Do you understand the gravity of this? The officer blinks, unsure of how to proceed, but the tension only thickens as another figure steps out of the second patrol car. A senior officer surveys the scene, immediately sensing something is off. Yet instead of de-escalating, he directs a pointed question at Carter. Agent or not, why weren't we informed about this case? What are you hiding? The air grows heavy, the crowd on edge. What started as a routine stop is spiraling into something far deeper, with secrets threatening to unravel and everyone questioning who they can trust. The senior officer steps closer, his gaze sharp. Explain yourself, Agent. What aren't you telling us? Agent Carter holds his ground, his voice steady. We've been tracking a witness with critical information tied to a major case. My wife isn't just anyone. She's been helping us keep this city safe. Arresting her, especially while she's pregnant, jeopardizes everything. A silence falls over the crowd. The senior officer glances at the officer who initiated the stop, then back to Carter. You should have notified us. His tone is stern but measured. But considering the circumstances, we'll release her. This isn't how we operate. The woman breathes a shaky sigh of relief, gripping her husband's hand tightly. But just as the tension begins to ease, another voice cuts through the quiet. A man steps forward from the crowd, someone none of them had noticed before. He's dressed casually, his expression unreadable. Not so fast, he says, his voice low but commanding. This isn't over yet. Everyone turns to him in confusion. The man lifts his hand, revealing a small device, an electronic tracker. You didn't think they'd let you walk away just because you've got a badge, did you? He sneers. We've been watching both of you. The crowd tenses again. Carter's grip tightens on his wife's hand as he realizes they've been blindsided. The man's expression hardens. You're not the only ones with secrets, Agent. The man with the tracker smirks, stepping closer. You both thought you could slip through unnoticed. We've been tracking you for weeks. His tone is cold, but there's a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Agent Carter pulls his wife closer, his mind racing. The unknown figure seems connected to the very danger they've been trying to escape. The officer exchanges a tense look with his colleagues, clearly uncertain about who this man really is. With no other option, the senior officer steps in. We'll handle this, he says firmly, signaling to the crowd. Slowly, they begin to retreat, leaving Carter and his wife behind. As the chaos dies down, Carter takes a deep breath, his grip on his wife's hand never loosening. The fight isn't over, but for now, they've survived another day. In the quiet aftermath, the weight of unseen threats lingers, reminding them that the truth is often more complicated than it seems. Sometimes it's not just about what you know, but who's watching from the shadows.